and another effective one. Matthew breaks a tackle, breaks another, gets a block. There are no flags and the race is on. And Matthew goes 90.
Burrow with the snap. Here comes the blitz. Burrow steps away from it, throws, catch made! Justin Jefferson has it at the 38, racing down the far line, sideline, 10-5, touchdown, Tigers!
Another play fake by Burrow, and a deep strike, and an open receiver, Jamar Chase, another touchdown!
Daniels pulls it, takes it himself, he's got the sideline! Jane Daniels off to the races! And a bang back inside, he takes it to the house! 85 yards for Daniel!
Go ahead and say it, Ed.
Go Tigers!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to the Gold Standard Podcast. I am your host, Doe. If you're looking for LSU news, updates, and unsolicited opinions, I am your guy. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Early, if you're listening to this on Christmas Eve, hope you have a great Christmas, Merry Christmas, and happy holidays to you. If you listen to me after Christmas on this, I hope you had a great Christmas. Hope you're able to enjoy the time off, spend some time with the ones you love, and enjoy the true reason for the season, which is giving. All right, let's talk about some LSU news. So as I record this, as of yesterday, which was December 22nd, LSU and its 2026 coaching staff, led by Lane Kiffin, is officially fully staffed after I think all this kind of kicked off on October the 30th or 31st with BK being fired, and Lane was hired about a month later. So we're about Lane's been on the job about 2.5, 3 weeks at this point. So the staff is done. So your 2026 coaching staff is filled. It has been filled by Coach Kiffin. We're going to go through all of the official staff hirings, which were released by LSU on Twitter. They're official when LSU releases them, so they're done. There are no more questions about who, what, when, where, why, and if. These are your coaches going into the 2026 season. So we had LSU do releases on X, like I said, for the following coaches. And I'm just going down the list here on the Twitter. So LSU officially welcomed Joe Houston as the special teams coordinator. I don't know, it's a bad idea, but Joe Houston is the special teams coordinator. I think he came from the University of Florida. Assistant defensive line and pass rush specialist Lou Spanos. I think he's going to be like more of a analyst, off the field coach, kind of helping with the pass rush and that kind of deal. This one was a surprise here. Linebackers and co-defensive coordinator Chris Kiffin. We'll talk about that one in a little bit. Eric Wolford as the offensive line coach. Dane Stevens as your quarterbacks coach. Sawyer Joyner as your inside wide receivers coach. George McDonald as the wide receivers and passing game coordinator. Joe Cox as the tight ends and co-offensive coordinator. Charlie Weiss Jr. as your offensive coordinator, and Sterling Lucas as your defensive line coach, and associate head coach and running backs coach Kevin Smith. Now, the two new ones that weren't already made public knowledge would be defensive line coach Sterling Lucas being official. We talked about him in the last pod, and we've talked about Kevin Smith being the running back coach for a very long time. Those two are official. And again, that's just reading off the LSU Twitter. And then shout out to Zach Nagy, who posted on Twitter as well, kind of giving us a rundown. Lane Kiffin's LSU staff is now official, and these are going to be your main coaches that I think are going to do most of your recruiting off the field as well. I think because you can only have 10 coaches along with the head coach that do off the field recruiting. Sorry. So the OC is going to be Charlie Weiss Jr. The quarterbacks coach is going to be Dane Stevens. Running back coach Kevin Smith. Wide receiver coach Jordan McDonald. Tight end coach Joe Cox. Offensive line coach Eric Wolford. DC Blake Baker. D-line Sterling Lucas. Edges Kevin Peoples. Linebackers Chris Kiffin. Cornerback Corey Raymond. And safeties Jake Olson. So just an elite job of Coach Kiffin putting the staff together as quickly as he did. When you think about it, the entire offensive coaching staff was not retained, which I said from the beginning would be the greatest idea in the world. Look, guys, this team did not score 25 points in a single game this season, so I don't have any qualms or questions about Coach Kiffin. I'm not going to question him regardless on offense because he knows what he's doing. He's one of the greatest offensive minds in the game of football. I put him right up there with Sean McVay. So you just don't question a guy that knows what he's doing on offense. He's always had a great system wherever he's been. You can look at the numbers. You can look at the quarterback production. He's always going to have an offense that's going to be productive, whether you got Blake Sims back there or whether you got Jackson Dart back there. Lane's always been able to produce an offense, so I don't have any questions about that. But he brought in basically Ole Miss's offense, which was highly ranked this year, guys, and kept basically LSU's defensive staff in place while adding Sterling Lucas. So look at it like this. You're combining Ole Miss's 2025 offense with LSU's 2025 defense. That's going to be your team next year. So a lot to look forward to, a lot of excitement in Baton Rouge, a lot of excitement with Tiger fans. And you should be, because this is one heck of a coaching staff, bar for bar and from top to bottom, possibly on paper. And I know we say this a lot and we get excited, but literally on paper, just the ability to have Lane Kiffin and Blake Baker on the staff at the same time as an offensive and defensive mind. I mean, when's the last time you had it that good? Maybe 2019 with what you had on offense mixed with Dave Aranda. But I think Blake's a little bit better at this point than Aranda may have been at that point. That's a debate and that's a discussion. 2011, the defense was great, but the offense wasn't that great. 2013, the offense was great. The defense wasn't that great. I mean, you can go back to early Saban times where you got Jimbo Fisher and then you got, all those guys on the other side of the ball, Will Muschamp, Kirby Smart was a GA, and Mel Tucker and all those guys. That's probably going to be the best staff on paper that you've had as an LSU fan since that one, which is an achievement and a lot to say. Because like I said, in a short amount of time, Coach Kiffin's able to get this staff together to get it in place before the portal opens so they can be very aggressive in the portal and go out and grab a lot of guys in that portal. Again, I expect LSU to be very, very aggressive in the portal. I expect them to have their names on the hat with a lot of big-time quarterbacks. I do want to update. There was some potential news about Dylan Stewart possibly coming over with Sterling Lucas. As of today, he put out a thing, and On3 put out something that said he's going to stay. So you won't get Dylan Stewart, and I'm sure South Carolina had to pay up handsomely to keep him and the Norris Sellers, which is pretty much the only two guys that they probably could afford to pay. But they kept them, so congratulations to them. But I don't think this stops you from being aggressive or big players. LSU needs edges. They know it. They know what they need going into the portal. I mean, at this point, Coach Kiffin has taken an examination of the entire roster. He's seen a few practices. He's seen the film. He's watched LSU in film preparation earlier in the season. He knows where they're weak. Blake knows where they're weak on defense. I mean, you just have to trust those two guys to go out and get the players that are going to fit their schemes offensively and defensively. And the portal's not even open yet. So, look, I saw somebody saying earlier talking about, it may not be all it's hyped up to be with, the amount of money that we have and the amount of bragging that we've been talking about, that we've got this huge sum of funds all of a sudden to go into the portal. The portal might be less productive as far as talent is concerned compared to previous seasons. I just don't see that yet. I mean, just because guys aren't in the portal now, don't mean they won't get in later. January 2nd is just the official start of the portal open. Guys, the portal isn't even open yet. There are some teams who are still playing football that will end that weekend. So I mean, and it's the portal's open 14 days after the second, and it officially closes on the 16th. As long as you're in the portal, you can commit at any point in time. You don't have to commit those 2 weeks. You can take visits or whatever you want to do, but you have to have your name in the portal by January 16th. So talk about today being December the 23rd till January the 16th. I'm telling you, there's going to be a huge mass of names that are going to jump in the portal. There's going to be some that are surprising. There's going to be some that don't make sense, and we see this all the time. And LSU's not going to get every single player that goes in the portal that's a big name. And a lot of it is just pricing your risk. You know, you don't want to just go in the portal and overpay for everybody, because that's a tricky, slippery slope to kind of die on, a weird hill to die on. You want to be smart with the portal. And like I said, they have a plan and a premium and a price point on every one of these players that they're already looking at. Some on the roster, some not on the roster. You know, there's a lot going on behind the scenes with agents and that kind of deal. So I'm sure they have their eye on certain guys, and I'm sure the guys that are already in there, they already have chopped up the film and kind of decided, is this a guy we would potentially want to come to Baton Rouge, or is this a guy that we will potentially pass on? Is his number too high? Another thing I saw today, I was reading, was talking about the going rate for quarterbacks in the portal this year is going to be anywhere from $4 to $6 million, which is just crazy. So does that mean LSU goes in the portal and pay $12 million for two quarterbacks because I think they need at least two? No, it just means you have to be smart about who you go and get. And even if those guys have a higher premium at $6 million or whatever it may be, it's what you pay them. I mean, is somebody going to pay a top flight quarterback $6 million in the portal? It depends on who. I really think it depends on who, depends on the fit with the staff, and depends on how the coach sees the fit with that player. So you'll hear a lot of people, a lot of names. There's going to be a lot of rumors. There's going to be a lot of hearsay. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on. In the next 2 weeks, I expect there to be a huge push right before and right after Christmas, and then it's going to pick up in January 2nd. You're going to start to see some of those bigger names hop in. And again, I expect LSU to be very aggressive on that. But that's another talk for another day. I just want to come over here and talk about the completion of the staff. What are my thoughts? I would grade this as an A+ from Coach Kiffin, really, and I'm removing my bias out of it. I'm saying, look at the statistics of LSU's defense this year. They were a top 15, top 20 defense on most, if not all, metrics. You kept that staff in place. You added a well-respected teacher and recruiter and developer of talent as the defensive tackle coach to go along with the other coaches on that side of the ball. A+ move. You had a shot at getting one of the most productive players in the country, one of the best players in the country at Dylan Stewart. A+. You didn't get him, but hey, if you don't get Sterling Lucas, you have zero chance. I bet you don't even get in the room without having Sterling Lucas. So A+ job there. And then, like I said, if you just think about taking Ole Miss's staff from this season offensively and what they did, everything with Trinidad Chambliss, everything they're doing with Keywan Lacey, everything you see with their receivers, Deuce Wallace, Stripling, Winnie Watkins, Daquan Wright, the amazing tight end. And then look at their offensive line. I can't name one guy on the offensive line. None of them were 5 stars, maybe even not highly ranked top 100 4 stars. Still have the ability to run the ball, control the ball, have a guy that has the most touchdowns in the SEC at Keywan Lacey. So, I mean, how can you grade it any lower? Like I said, I'm really removing my bias here, but I'm saying if you tell me objectively, hey, this coaching staff is going to be filled with one of the top 10 to 15 offenses in the country, that entire staff offensively, except for one coach who you brought in from Kentucky that has SEC experience and has a stamp of approval from Nick Saban. And then on the other side, you got a defensive staff that's a top 15 unit in the country that you went and added another SEC coach that's well-respected and a really good recruiter and almost got you one of the best players in the nation. I mean, that's a win-win on all sides. So congratulations again. It's time to be excited, Tiger fans. The staff is in place. We won't have to ask any more questions about Who's going to be the D-line coach? Is Blake staying? Who's going to be here? What is Frank doing? All that stuff. All that stuff is over. All that stuff has ended. So, Tiger fans, how do you guys feel about the staff that is in place now? Do you think the A+ grade is too high? What would you grade the staff? Let me know in the comments what kind of grade would you give to the staff overall as a unit. Let me know where you think the weak spots are. I think people will obviously say Eric Wolford is one of the names that are just less well-renowned. But I think if you look a little bit more into the film and kind of look at the track record, it makes sense why you would hire that type of guy. So, again, really, really bright future in Baton Rouge. I'm glad that the staff is in place and we can go balls to the wall in the portal and try to make some additions to this team and turn this program around in 2026. Ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you so much for joining this edition of the Gold Standard Podcast, where I have been your host, Joe. And again, we are the best place for your LSU news, updates, and unsolicited opinions. Make sure you hit that like button if you like the episode. Make sure you hit subscribe and just show your boy a little bit of support. If I get every person that watches this video just to hit the subscribe button with no obligations, it does me very, very good, guys. It helps me out a ton. It helps the algorithm out, lets them know that they should push this video more. So like the video as much as you can, subscribe it as much as you can, leave comments, share it out on Christmas to all your folks who are LSU fans that got questions about who the coaches are, that kind of thing. Just tell them to go to the Gold Standard and pull up this video and just play it for Grandpa, and I'm going to walk you through it. So, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate your time as always. I hope you have a very, very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Peace out. One love. Go Tigers and play Nick.